Industrials Conference. I'm Greg Conrad, part of the equity research team at Jefferies, and very excited to have Tom Weiss, CEO of Sierra Space, with us today. He'll have a short presentation, and then we'll go over some questions. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg, and thank you for having Sierra Space at the conference this year. We're really excited at Sierra Space. I want to talk to you a little bit about the company and look forward to the questions. Again, it's really exciting. You know, Sierra Space is a unique company. We're fully vertically integrated across all the domains of space transportation, space destination, and all the underlying technologies to make a new platform in space to benefit life on Earth. It's a company that's been, we spun out from Sierra Nevada about a year ago, but it's a company that's been doing deep space, hard space activity for over 30 years. But it's a very unique company the way we put it together over this last year. We believe when we think about what's happening in space, we're making a major transition from 60 years actually, of space exploration to what we believe now is a major industrial revolution around the commercialization of space. And Sierra Space is uniquely positioned to capture the new space economy as we commercialize, especially in low Earth orbit. We're a company that today has $400 million in revenue. We have $3 billion in backlog. Over the last year, we've grown our company from about 900 employees to 2,000, even in a tight labor market. We've been growing, again, highly engineered company, significant part of our population, obviously engineers. Most of our engineers have advanced degrees. And we're focused again on building out a full end-to-end platform in space and commercializing low Earth orbit. If you think about the 30 years that we have in terms of our history, we've been to Mars 14 times, we've been to 6 different planets, we've been to the sun, we've been to asteroid belts. But as we think about this major transition from exploration and commercialization, our company is deeply focused now on taking companies to space and inventing the next big breakthroughs in human healthcare, telecommunications, semiconductors, and clean energy. That's the transition the company is making. As we really think about executing our strategy, we're very focused on building, again, this end-to-end business platform, a technology platform and a business platform, and then growing multiple different services on this ecosystem for our end customers. Our end customers are, again, those in biotech, biopharma, telecommunications, semiconductors. Those are our end customers, and we're building a platform to go service those customers. There are 5 major parts of our strategy. The first is to build out a very unique space transportation system. We see the future of thousands of people transitioning to and from low Earth orbit on a fleet of space planes. Think of Dream Chaser as not a single vehicle, it's a family of vehicles that starts with servicing NASA for cargo resupply to the International Space Station. And we scale that family of vehicles from 6 tons and 6 people to ultimately 10 tons and 10 people, 20 tons and 20 people, and we keep scaling that as the market demands. We're part of what drives the market demand because we're building out the constellation of space stations. Starts with our partner Blue Origin, and we're building out our Orbital Reef, which we start to send modules into space in 26, and Orbital Reef is fully open for business in 2027. But it's not just about a single station. Sierra Space's vision is to be the largest real estate developer in low Earth orbit. We provide all the utilities to our customers in low Earth orbit. We provide all the different services. And then the third part of that strategy is to bring our partners onto that platform, partners that know how to do tissue regeneration, semiconductor research and production, the companies that know how to do 3D printing. So building out that platform with additional services that grow the value of the ultimate platform. And then obviously Sierra Space has multiple different revenue streams. The next part of that is, again, on those revenue streams, our customers, and again, industrial industries, don't typically want to be a space company. They want to be a biotech company, telecommunications company. So then we provide all of the ancillary services on this ecosystem. So we train all of the astronauts that are working, both Sierra Space astronauts, but all of our partner company astronauts, so to do the research and production on orbit and maintaining the ecosystem on orbit. Obviously, we build all the ground infrastructure, ground processing. all of the facilities associated with taking people to and from and products to and from low Earth orbit. We're really excited about our new facility that we call Earth Base 1, which we think, again, we call it Earth Base 1 because we see it as the first major hub on Earth that is starting to connect Earth and the factories and cities now in low Earth orbit. And then the fifth piece where we don't talk a lot about is our company has great exposure to national security, for which classified space is growing at a substantial rate, and we're capturing that growth as part of our company as well. The reason why we put all that together with both commercial, civil, and defense is it gives our company great exposure in all three domains. But we also think about national defense. If we're going to build out a vibrant commercial economy in space, then we also have to think deeply in our company about how to protect those companies and that infrastructure in space. This is our platform stack. Again, if you think about, I'm talking about a full platform. This is the technology stack of that platform. And again, you see a lot that starts with low Earth orbit. So again, we think about all the real estate in low Earth orbit. We think about the utilities. We think about the interplay between the logistics, refueling, supply on low Earth orbit, and then all the transportation to and from low Earth orbit. So that's the technology stack. And again, as we see the commercialization occur beyond low Earth orbit, we take that stack and we expand it to the lunar surface. But we do that when we can see the high margin revenue growth on the lunar surface. And then we'll take another look at beyond that. So our company right now is very focused on that revenue stream, high EBITDA margin rate revenue stream that's coming from the commercialization of low Earth orbit. And again, on top of the technology stack is, again, the business stack. We think about what we're really doing as a company is building microgravity factories in space, taking companies, taking cities, taking factories to low Earth orbit. And microgravity is where there's an opportunity to create the next breakthrough set of products that have the ability to influence almost every segment of the industrials. I'll talk about one potential customer group that we're working very closely with, we think is going to be one of the first movers. But this has the ability to actually disrupt every major part of the industrials because microgravity factories is just a new way to engineer a variety of different products. This is the one particular set of customers that we think is what we're seeing is first mover. It's the biotech industry, biopharma. It's the new way in which we can envision, research, and produce multiple different healthcare products. These are some of the companies that have been working on the International Space Station, that have been doing research. We believe now it's time to take the research into production in low Earth orbit. Companies, again, that are thinking through how to have drugs that get absorbed by the body far faster. And those drugs are obviously coming about from the research in microgravity factories. It's thinking about how to do tissue regeneration. In one particular case, generation of retinas. Those retinas can actually be produced in microgravity factories and then brought back down to Earth. Thinking through anti-aging, what really is causing the body to age, and using microgravity factories to think about how to reverse that, how to understand it. And then ultimately, maybe there is drug therapies that counteract it. As we think about monoclonal antibodies, this became very famous, obviously, over the last couple of years because that was the technology that really broke through on COVID-19. But there are significant new advances being made in monoclonal antibodies to think about its therapy associated with cancers, autoimmune diseases. So we really think this is going to be a big breakthrough in terms of how the research is done. And in microgravity factories is the place in which you can create these new kinds of drugs. And then obviously thinking then about stem cell research and using stem cells to produce a number of opportunities that have major advances in human health care, whether that's tissue regeneration or whether it's organ growth, producing those in LEO and then bringing those back down to Earth for patients across the world. So this is one area, but again, we emphasize that we believe that microgravity factories will actually influence and disrupt every segment of the industrials, which is why we're so excited about it. If If you think about what we're ultimately, from an easy perspective, what we're trying to do, obviously we build out the real estate, we build the research parks, we build the business parks on orbit. But again, having the ability to bring that down in a way that can safely, easily, in a low G environment, land back at a runway, and having that research or products move quickly to a lab, instead of plunging things back into an ocean like we did, again, in the Gemini, Apollo, and Mercury programs, or plunging capsules back onto the ground in the desert. We just think that it's very different to be able to fly back down to Earth, land at a runway, anywhere a 321 or 737 can land, we can land a Dream Chaser. It's not only revolutionizing research, but think about what it's going to do to experiences, tourism, hospitality. We're really excited that there's going to be a day where Dream Chaser lands at the Paris Air Show and 6 people get out of Dream Chaser and walk into a chalet. I think it's going to change the way people think about space travel, and I think it's going to change every single industry. So this is how we're putting everything together, I think, in a very unique way. Spend a little time on investment highlights. Again, we have built a very strong team. We have team members that have come from traditional aerospace and defense, high-tech startups, multiple parts of the industrials, people who've come from right out of biotech, for example, and PhD in research. We brought all of those folks together with a very strong team, a lot of experience, and a very strong investor base. Investors who take a very long-term view of what we're trying to do in the marketplace. General Atlantic, More Capital, AE Industrials, BlackRock, Coatue. And so we've got a very well-capitalized balance sheet with $3 billion of backlog. And we're generating revenue today and high growth over the future. We see this industry is about a 20% CAGR. We think we'll be at or above capturing that market over the next 10 years in growth. Differentiate technology. Again, we don't go to the marketplace in space transportation and Dream Chasers and space planes, or in destinations, again, with space stations. We go to the market as a fully integrated end-to-end platform play with multiple different revenue streams and exposure to all segments of the market, civil, commercial, and defense. Strong contract backlog, contract backlog on both civil and defense. But again, we also have a very strong focus on the full commercialization, working directly, again, with human healthcare, biotech, biopharma companies. Telecommunications is a very big part of how we think about things. Looking at how to take the cloud to space. So again, that exposure across multiple industries and segments is a pretty powerful as we think about significant growth in the company going forward. This isn't a startup that just, last couple of years have thought about entering space. It's a company that has 30 years of doing really hard things and doing them well. 14 successful missions to Mars is a backdrop of our company. Building space planes that can scale rapidly. Today we're building our cargo aircraft space plane for NASA. We're already in the middle of the design of our second vehicle that carries both passengers, but has 40% larger volume than our first space plane. And so having that ability to have differentiate technology, the life module, which is the core of our space station, in a single launch, single module, it has 1/3 of the usable volume of the entire International Space Station. We're already now building the second iteration of that, which is twice the size. And the third iteration, which again uses the same technology underpinnings, which is now 4 times the size of the original life module. And so we're taking advantage of that scalability, technology underpinning, first mover advantage in our company. But again, it's an integrated portfolio. We don't sell space planes to other contractors. We don't sell space stations. We integrate together, and we're a full integrated prime taking a unique product to the market, which is a technology and business platform to create new disruptive products for back here on Earth. Attractive business model, again, as we think over the next decade, significant revenue growth, but it's not just a top-line growth company. We see significant EBIT and cash generation in our company as we go forward. So very unique the way we think about the company, the growth, and again, we think a lot about optionality. We're a company that's well-financed in the private side. We think about how the public markets will play out, and we like the optionality as we look into the capital markets over the next several years. Again, this isn't just a PowerPoint. You see our space plane that's finishing up the integration and test. The next step is that we send our first space plane, the cargo variant for NASA. We're on a service contract, so we own these vehicles. We're on a service contract. We have a first mission, not a demo, but a first mission with NASA to supply cargo to the International Space Station next year. These spacecraft are reusable 15 times. And the second vehicle is coming to the factory at the end of the month. And again, we build out that second vehicle, and we just start again. We fly each of those 15 times, so 2 vehicles 30 times. And that, again, is happening starting next year. The Life module you see at the bottom, that's the large inflatable module. This has already gone through significant amount of testing. We've been on contract with NASA since 2017. We're the first to go through a significant new milestone, which is taking that structure to a full burst test, which we just completed. And again, this will be the first module that we have as part of the Orbital Reef that's open for business in 27. And we're really excited that we'll have the first free-flying Pathfinder on orbit as early as 2025. So we're very excited that this is technology that's been maturing rapidly, making a lot of progress. And again, we've got both the Dream Chaser going to the station next year. We've got a free flyer space station fully disconnected from the ISS as early as 25, and a full open research and business park with Blue Origin in 27. So that's a little bit about our company, and appreciate all of you being here, and I'll open up to any questions, Greg.
Thanks, Tom. I mean, maybe just to begin, just kind of broader about the market, you spent a large portion of your career at a large defense contractor and today at Sierra Space. I mean, how do you think about innovation? What changes at a company with a more focused mission versus a more broad defense contractor? And, you know, when you think about from that perspective, what's kind of changed since the spin out in 2021?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks, Greg. I did spend 31 years of my life at a major company that I'm very proud of, and I've always thought of innovation the same way, whether it's 23,000 team members or 2,000 team members. It's really thinking about the market. Where's the market headed? Where do you see trends that maybe your competitors don't see? How do you bring together a team of innovators and then provide them the capital to move very fast in certain markets? At Sierra Space, we've been doing exactly that. We've looked very closely at what's really happening. What's the backdrop? What are we building upon? And the thing that we really intently focused on and noticed was, again, we're pivoting from 60 years of space exploration. If you think about what's happened over the last 60 years, only 600 people have been to space. Only 12 people have ever walked on the surface of the moon. But yet, it's been incredible over the last decade or so how we've been building upon the commercialization, especially in the launch sector. The prices are dropping significantly. We're building upon that. And what we see is now this significant major industrial revolution we actually believe is probably the most significant industrial revolution in humanity's history that's building upon every other revolution behind it. And what we see is the full commercialization. You think about major advancements in how we produce things on the planet. What we're doing and why do we go to space is because there's an environment in space that allows you to build far differently, different products that have a profound effect on almost every part of the industrial sector. We see innovation because we see long-term and then we walk it back to today, which is why at Sierra Space, we've organized around unique transportation systems that can scale fast, destination systems that's not just a space station to replace ISS. That's not what we're doing at all. We're building microgravity factories, business parks, research parks, hotel chains, embassies. We see that moving very rapidly in just 250 miles right above our head. We're not a company that's focused on 35 million miles. We're focused on 250 miles. And that, I think, is what's different. That's what's driving innovation inside of Sierra Space.
And then with that, just one clarification question. You said 15 flights. Is that, and then the vehicle gets retired, or what was that 15?
Yeah, so we built the vehicle, each Dream Chaser, we built it, designed it specifically to be highly reusable, no less than 15 times. And so that every wind tunnel, every stress test, every static, dynamic testing we've done, we're exceeding 15 times. But that was the design parameter, was at least 15 times per vehicle. And we're likely to get more. But again, as we think about the cadence of that 15, we're already now bringing online DC-200, which is the crewed version. But when we bring on the crewed version of Dream Chaser, it is also a better cargo. It's 40% additional volume. And so those also are being designed for greater than 15. It's everything that we think about our company, high reuse and fast scalability.
I think that was kind of goes into my next question, was just, I think you have the DC-100, DC-200, DC-300. I think the latter two are maybe 2026, if I remember correctly. I mean, how does that, when you think about the opportunities, how does that, kind of correlate with the introduction of long?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. It all comes together. The reason why all these are the DC-200, for example, which is the crewed variant, is that we believe it'll service both the ISS, but we also think it will service, obviously, all of our destinations. And so our free flyer is coming online in 25. The first uncrewed flight of the DC-200 will occur in 25. We'll start doing research on that free flyer as early 26, and we'll start putting people onto that free flyer with DC-200 in early 26. And so that's why we connected the dots around these things happening in the 26 timeframe. DC-300 won't talk a lot about, but we see that there are significant challenges in space. Space is no longer a sanctuary. It is, in many cases, has significant risks and threats from a national security perspective. So having the ability then to build out a space superiority capability is how our company thinks about that. And we want to make sure that we're ready to supply our nation with capability in the 26 timeframe.
And then maybe just following up on kind of the commercial-based solutions, I mean, how are you thinking about timing and support for commercialization? I mean, we hear about manufacturing, tourism, government support. I mean, any way to bucket these opportunities and, who are the first adopters versus maybe opportunities that take longer to materialize?
Yeah, so we believe there's sort of multiple buckets. The first one really is around all of the disruption that'll happen in the industrial. So this is in-space manufacturing for products that benefit, again, life and industries here on Earth. I mentioned human healthcare and biotech. We see advanced materials, the purity by which you can build out ceramics, advanced materials in space is far superior than we've been able to do on the ground. New materials, metamaterials that can change the way entire industries are built upon. Those are really breakthroughs. Now, biotech, I think, is probably one of the early first movers as well as advanced materials. But again, hospitality and tourism. We see the entertainment and sports. We see eventually, potentially even diplomacy. And so we see these things building out over time. But the first part, in-space manufacturing, is where we see the significant growth coming from. And in-space tourism and exploring, obviously, is a part of which our focus, but we just think that in-space manufacturing is the biggest growth item.
And then I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it again, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.